think every single day we have the opportunity to make a difference to the lives of others. And it can just be a small act. It doesn't have to be a big act because I think that makes the world a better place and it allows us to leave legacies in a way because we've made a difference to the world.
Welcome to Get Invested on the Property Hub podcast channel, the leading weekly show for Australians who want to learn how to unlock their full self, health and wealth potential. I'm your host, Bushy Martin, and each week I go deep with the best investors, experts, leaders and founders to find out what it takes to break free from the grind, discover freedom and to live by design. Subscribe now and join me and get invested in the life that you really want. Let's get started.
Hi, freedom fighters. What's your end game? And what legacy are you both living and leaving? Because we all hear incredible stories in the media of ordinary people achieving some amazing things, and it's easy to sit back and think, well, that's all way too much out of my league. But is it? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, and then it's just a matter of continuing to put one foot in front of the other as you slowly but surely eat the overwhelming elephant in manageable mouthfuls. We all have to start somewhere. So what's holding you back? What's stopping you from starting? Like today's guest, I'm a big believer that if you really want something, you really need to go after it and make life happen, not let life happen. So don't allow your limiting beliefs to get in the way. And yes, we all have them. You need to be brave and reach out to those people that you think that can help you and reach out to that person that you'd love to partner with. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? They may say no, but they may also say yes. In your quest to achieve whatever it is that's important to you, they're definitely going to be setbacks, there's going to be rejection, and there's likely to be some really challenging times that's going to take you to the edge of your endurance. But if it's really important to you, push on. Get crystal clear on your end game and then focus on achieving it. Focus laser-like on what you set out to achieve and then give it your best shot. You may be surprised where it leads you. And if it was easy, everyone will be doing it. Now, living your legacy means different things to each and every one of us. But I do know that to achieve true freedom and fulfillment, you just need to run your own race. Don't waste time worrying about what other people think or what everyone else is doing, because it's the different who make a difference in life. So swim against the popular tide and know that criticism is your greatest compliment on your way to achieving your version of great things. So live life on your own terms, and as you travel your life journey, keep focusing on your end game. Just like the example of today's special guest, Melisa Sloan. As you're about to hear, Melisa's a lawyer, author, founder, and board director who really loves to help you create and live an awesome legacy. Melisa loves the variety of options that life provides us with and the opportunity to make a difference to the world that we live in. And she's always looking for new challenges and opportunities. Melisa's first book, Legacy, Taking Care of the Most Important People in Your Life, was an absolute stellar success. So this week, we're going to unpack her own life journey before revealing her secrets to sustainable success that she's captured in her new book, Big Moments, a practical guide to everything you need to know about navigating life's milestones. So welcome and let's get invested, Melisa.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It's awesome. Great to catch up with you. I really enjoyed having a read of your book, and I know that we swim in very similar circles, and this is the first opportunity we've had a chance to chat with each other. But for those who don't know you, can you sort of kick things off by giving us a bit of a rundown on what you do differently and why you do what you do?
My day job is as a lawyer, and I'm very, very passionate about that. So my practice is generally succession, so estate planning, probate, and obviously conveyancing, because I absolutely love property, and I could buy every house if I had the opportunity. So very, very passionate about that, but also helping people create those beautiful legacies. And I think what I tried to do when I established my own law firm was to create a firm where we delivered service differently. Because for a lot of people who go into a law firm, it's intimidating. They haven't done it before. It's scary. And so we just wanted to make it a really, really wholesome place that they could come, ask the questions and get the answers to the things that were important to them, in a really, really comfortable environment, and empowering them to make important decisions which impact the rest of their life as well.
Well, it's a great area that you work in, actually, and opening people's eyes to that opportunity. But I'd like to now sort of circle right back as far as you'd like to go in terms of your own personal history, and give us a bit of a rundown on what you've invested your time, energy, money in over the years and why, and how has this sort of led you to where you are and what you're doing today?
Mm. I've always loved property, and so my first major big investment was obviously an apartment in Shasha, which is a city in a suburb of Melbourne. It wasn't in a fantastic building, but it had really solid foundations, and I'm really glad I bought that because I think it's probably better built than half the properties these days anyway. Um, and I actually still have that. Obviously, I do have a bit of an emotional attachment, but it's been a superb investment in terms of capital growth, and it's always been tenanted, apart from a short period during COVID. Um, and so that probably instilled in me the importance of, wanting all my property portfolio and growing that. I have a very diversified portfolio. I also do shares. I have a self-managed super fund. But it was also, I think, instilled in me from a young age that if you start young, you get the rewards. We don't want to wait until the end. You get older and enjoy it. Life is for enjoying, living in the moment, and having those opportunities along the way. Because if you do that young, you have the financial freedom to live the life that you want. And I think that's really, really important for a lot of people.
Totally agree. Well, I'm going to dig into the details of your investment journey in terms of hard assets like shares and property shortly. Before we do that, though, can you sort of unpack a little bit of your personal journey? So, and in terms of the key things that influenced your upbringing, and perhaps give us a bit of a feel for how your upbringing has actually influenced and affected your core values and beliefs, and who you've now become as a result.
Yeah. I was really, really lucky. My parents were amazing role models for me. I was very lucky. I was also born deaf, which obviously has been a significant thing for me throughout my life. But I was also instilled with the belief that you could do anything that you really wanted to do in life. And having that amazing family support, I have two older brothers. I'm the youngest in my family. I didn't feel like I was missing out. I was probably overprotected a little bit. But I'm very, very grateful for that. And when you have that strong foundation, it really does help you on your life journey. And until today, I still have that beautiful support of my family, and I'm very, very lucky for that. So I think that kind of influenced me and shaped me. And it also made me aware that not everybody has the same opportunities, because there are some people that don't have those strong foundations and have a different life journey to me. So it has also allowed me to have the compassion and the empathy for that and to look at those different life journeys. But it's also given me the confidence, particularly from an investment perspective and all those sorts of things. And I mean, there's not really, I always say there's no such thing as a mistake. It's a lesson in life. Because you've got to take risks, you've got to back yourself and have a go. I think the only mistake that you can ever really make is actually not having a go.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think my personal challenges fail into insignificance compared to the prospect of not being able to hear. And I'd fully respect and admire. I had no idea until you just mentioned that, by the way, that was the case. And I've done a lot of research on you and read your books in the lead up to this. What do you think it is? Because there's a lot of Australians who would use that as an excuse as to why life hadn't gone their way. I see and hear that all the time. What's different about you that's enabled you to almost embrace your hearing as an opportunity rather than as a limitation? Can you sort of talk through your thoughts on that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's opposite than that if you have a disability, and I don't like the word disability, but I acknowledge that I do. But um, that you can't really do the same as others, that you don't have the same opportunities, that your life is not going to be the same. But it's not like that at all. We just need to tap into the resources. I mean, for example, when I was at university, I was in a lecture with, 300 students. And if I didn't have a note taker, I couldn't really hear. But what I had to sit, and this was before, I'm probably giving my age away, but this was before we had Zoom and all those sorts of things. So what I had to do is I had to make sure I read textbooks so that I comprehensively understood what was going and prepare in that way. So you just have to look at, you've got this opportunity, okay, there's an obstacle here, how can we, what's the solution for that? And I think once you have to do that, from a very young age, it carries through for the rest of your life. And I think that probably, particularly in the areas of law, I think that's where a lot of that empathy comes from, is knowing what it's like to feel like that. And sometimes that feeling of inferior, feeling inferior, and people don't necessarily mean it, that their actions or their words or you poor thing. Well, it's not a poor thing because I actually have the luxury when I get on a plane of turning my hearing aid off and not hearing screaming kids. So let's positives and the silver linings and everything as well.
So totally, I love you sharing that because I'm a big believer in stoicism, and the old saying that the obstacle is the way. Because I know myself, if I look at every obstacle and challenge I've had, it's actually inspired me and made me work harder to do things that I probably wouldn't have done if I didn't have those challenges. And clearly, you've been taking the same approach to that. Has hearing been your biggest challenge in life, or are there other things that you would consider more challenging? And would you mind sharing those with us and talk to us about what your greatest learnings and best changes have been that have come out of that?
Well, I think hearing has been my biggest challenge, especially education and even in business. Obviously, I opened my own law firm. And doing that as a hard of hearing deaf person is really, really difficult because I'm not one who I can just pick up the phone and cold call all the time. All those sorts of things. So you do actually have to, think outside the box and get the right team around you in order to facilitate how, you can best serve your clients. For example, I love email. Telephone I can do if you've got a clear voice, but if people mumble a lot or have a strong accent, I really can struggle on that. And that's where Zoom has been amazing for myself as well, because obviously it allows me to lip read and so forth. So I would probably say the hearing and also, coming to my own business, that was looking back, I would think, yeah, I always wanted to do it. But looking back, I think, what was I thinking? I'm so glad I did it. I'm really glad I did it. And I'm glad I didn't know what I now know when I started. But yeah, but that was a really big challenging part of my life that I'm glad I, took the risk and did.
Yeah, it's funny, I've often said the same thing, that if I knew now what I knew about some of the major things I've done in my life, I probably wouldn't have started. But thanks heaven, ignorance is bliss, because by the time you work that out, you're so entrenched in it that you're going to make it happen. So
That's right.
I love that. Tell me, is there anything else that you struggle with now that you'd like to share with us?
Probably for me, it's life balance. I have so many passion projects and it's just trying to, there's only 24 hours in the day. So life balance is I think it's always a challenge of how, how shaping people who like to change the world and all those sorts of things. We're trying to get better at it. But yeah, I think life balance is definitely probably one of my weaknesses.
You're not lonely in that, Melissa. That I've sort of got to the stage where I don't think balance actually exists. Well, it's certainly not my personality. I'm either a full tilt or a zero sort of person, and not much in between. And luckily I've got my life partner and all things. Sonia sort of keeps me on track as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Stops me from getting too carried away. But that's awesome. Let's sort of circle back now to the investment piece that you sort of started to touch on at the start. Can you sort of take us through your journey of what you've invested in and why, and what have been the challenges that you've overcome with that? And then sort of while we're talking about it, talk about what's worked and what hasn't worked, and what have been the key learnings from all of that.
Okay, so I'm heavily invested in property. As I said, I bought my first property in South Australia. My second investment was an master plan apartment, which I did use as my residence. And then my third was also another one. I was really lucky with the master plans. I wouldn't recommend them now. As a lawyer, knowing what I do about a lot of master plans, and particularly in Victoria, cladding issues and all those sorts of things. But it works well for me, and I probably if you can't visualize what it's going to look like, then of course it's always going to be a challenge and all those sorts of things. I also did a lot of research on the builders and the developers, because that is key. There's so many people out there who just look at the marketing material, and the marketing material is always going to look amazing because they're trying to sell a product. Yeah. But you really, really need to drill down and look at all those, do your research. Quite often, these developers have built others, or after plan purchases, builders have built other properties. I have to have a look at those to see what the quality of the fittings are. Because then that way you get a really, really good idea of what you're looking for, and you can make an informed decision about whether it's the right investment for you at that time. Obviously, I also have commercial property because I have my business, and where that operates from is a commercial property, and I find that a really, really good investment in terms of self-managed super funds are a very good vehicle to hold those sorts of commercial properties in from a tax perspective and long-term perspective. So have those. And also, I think it's really important if people are able to put some money in super with it, so that, you don't just get to a certain age and think, my goodness, this is what I've got. How am I going to, have a comfortable retirement? But you have to, do what is right for you, because everyone has their own unique circumstances as well. And just, yeah. And I also have shares. So I have a very diversified portfolio in terms of where my assets live. And I think it's really, really important to have that. And it's really important to feel comfortable with the right investment for you. As I say, I love property. So that's why I have that strong property theme throughout my portfolio.
Yeah, I love that. Just touching on the off the plan exercises, sadly, I think there's a lot of negative press around new builds. I guess being an architect, I'm very familiar and comfortable with builds. And from an investment perspective, if you get it right, if you control the time, the costs, and the quality, then new build properties have some very significant advantages. Lower standards, you can be much better depreciation,
Correct.
holding costs. I think the key thing here, and the reason why it would work for you, but probably wouldn't work for a lot of other people, comes back to what I touched on in the introduction. You do the homework. you suss out the builder, you read the contracts, you know the ins and outs of what the clauses mean. So you're going in with your eyes open and knowing exactly what you're getting in for, and you're making sure that the contract is balanced and is protecting your interests as well as the other side. Whereas the average punter who just thinks it's a great idea and gets sucked in by the marketing doesn't look at other work that the builder has done, doesn't do the review of the contract and understand exactly what it means and what's going to be a variation and where the extra costs are and all the things that the person who's not aware of it is doesn't even look for it because they don't even know what to look for, then I think there's a missing opportunity. But as you know, I think an underlying theme of all the work that you're doing, and we'll talk more about this in the next episode around big things. If you've got the right team around you and you're doing the preparation and planning work before you dive in, and so therefore you're going in with your eyes open, not with your eyes closed, then it is that can scare others off, can actually be an opportunity for you that you can take better advantage of. So yeah. And again, that you have the skills and the aptitude to be able to really understand and do the amount of due diligence and homework that's necessary to make sure that what you're sticking your hard-earned money in is actually going to give you exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. And I love. Yeah, go on. Sorry, Melissa.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the things we have found our clients where they fall down is that they don't get the contract reviewed. They sign on the dotted line, and then they find out that there's a sunset clause. And that sunset clause could be 48 or 60 months, and they aren't aware of that because, the agent has advised them that it's going to be ready in 12 months. And where it could be a little bit difficult is if the employment situation changes, and so they were budgeting to be able to borrow that money, or, they might get pregnant or something like that. So it's all of those little things that I just need to be informed about, so that they're completely aware about what they're signing up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very good points. The other thing that I'd like you to share, I guess, is what was your investment strategy when you started? And as importantly, how has it evolved and changed as your experience and your portfolio has grown? How's your thinking around the investment strategy modified and evolved with it? Can you talk us through that? Because again, the reason I ask that is a lot of people, I don't believe, put enough energy into really developing a strategy, and then they don't adjust and test and modify things to make sure that it's still in alignment with where they want to get to at the end. Can you give us your
Yeah. So obviously, my first property investment was because it's somewhere I wanted to live. And then obviously I looked at the big picture, and it was like, okay, so in particular over the last, 10 years, what is my end game? Where do I want to be? And then working back from that. And once you know that, okay, what sort of asset, sort of investment will help me get to there? And then obviously, when I was looking to commence my own business, we bought the building where I operate from, and what was the best vehicle for that? And that was a self-managed super fund. And then, obviously when I moved on to my next home, rented the other one out because it was a really great investment that I considered the long-term, attribute to having my portfolio. And then it shares, it's always been a bit of a dabbling in terms of, my shares and my other investments. But doing the research, finding out what best suits me, and then tailoring that around my future property purposes. So purchases, I should say, and the other investments that I've got into, so that I can, work towards where I want to end up. And it's also about, being able to live the life that I want to live, but having those investments that will also provide a future as well. So it's important to get the balance, because I see some people work their butts off their whole life, and then, have that one significant overseas holiday when they're 65 and they're probably too old to enjoy everything that they would have if they were able to do that in their 30s or 40s or 20s. So it's just trying to get that balance right with what works for you, but also securing your financial future. And sometimes the earlier that you start, the better, usually. But if people haven't started, that's okay. The best time to start today is today if you haven't already started.
Well, so I often share the story, Melissa, of good old Warren Buffett, one of the world's most successful living investors, and 90% of his wealth was accrued after the age of 50. So, and
Yeah.
we've got the examples of Colonel Sanders and a whole heap of others who it's never too late. As long as you take a long-term view and you stick to your knitting, and get really clear on what the end game looks like. I like what you've shared with us, that you're quite clear on what that looks like, but you're also balancing it so you're not putting life off. You're actually enjoying life now. But if you're clever around how you structure things and you fine tune it so that your investments aren't forcing you to live on dog food and baked beans while you get to the end game, there are some pretty smart ways of making it quite affordable to enjoy that growth. Then you've really got the opportunity to enjoy the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
So tell us about, because I'm a big advocate of living by design and not by default. So, it's about getting, really clear on exactly how you want to live in the future and then working towards that. Can you sort of paint us a bit of a picture of what your life vision and ideal lifestyle looks like, and then what you're investing in to make that a reality?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, so that's where that pays for my lifestyle at the moment and my investment. I'm actually ticking along because I'm probably very much in the capital growth stage of my life as well, as opposed to income producing apart from my business. But, my assets are more for capital growth purposes this stage. And it just basically, I love to travel, but just the opportunity to be able to do that. And because I work in such an occupation where it's very, very intense and very, very stressful, you need to have those regular times out. If we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others. So that's just really, really paramount. So I usually mark those out at the start of every year or however often a year ahead, just planning where I'm going to have those breaks, what I'm going to do. And then just working around that and also just diligently looking, and you need to have that plan. You need to be able to look at where your investments are going and you can't just set it and leave it. You really need to evaluate it on a fairly regular basis, just to make sure that it's on track. There's consistency there, and it's doing the right goal for you.
Love it. Absolutely. That regular reset process. I often say that an investment strategy is a GPS, not a roadmap, because things are going to, the investment arena is going to change. Your life goals, needs and desires are going to change. So, but as long as you're checking in regularly enough and rebalancing things to make sure and recorrecting if you need to, then at least you're making it happen and keeping on track with that. Tell me, Melissa, in relation to the investment arena, if you sort of reflect back now on everything you've achieved so far, what has been your best and your worst investment, and what have you learned from each of those?
Probably been market property and commercial property, which has been great. If I had my time again, I would have probably invested, obviously I invested in an apartment, would have invested in house with land, because usually there's greater capital growth there. No. So that's what I would have done. House can sometimes be a bit of a lifestyle choice as well. With, the amenities and so forth. But, there's reasons why people live in apartments, and it can be security or those sorts of things. But if I had my chance again, I would have started off with, a house and land, a dwelling on land initially, because I just think they are better investments. My own personal perspective.
Yeah, and I love that. Now, I know you're big on legacy, and your first book talks in detail about that. Can you share with us what legacy you're living and leaving, and how you're going about doing that?
Mm. I think every single day we have the opportunity to make a difference to the lives of others. And it can just be a small act. It doesn't have to be a big act. Kindness is a really beautiful attribute that, someone might be having a bad day and you say something nice to them and it might lift their mood up, and we never know what shoes other people are walking in. So I think just the kindness, and particularly in terms of what we essentially do every day, in that I think we can get bogged down in that what we do, everyone else knows, but they don't. And I think, and I'm very bad at that. I'm thinking, oh, everybody knows what I do or what I know, but they don't. And I think, there's a great wisdom and can't come to see. You're imparting all your knowledge. And it doesn't really matter what job you have. Whether it's being a cleaner, whether it's being a builder, designing houses, an architect, as you said, we need all of these people. Teachers, nurses, doctors, police, firearms. We need them collectively. And so within us, we all have that really, really important knowledge. And it's really important that we impart that when we have the opportunity to, because I think that makes the world a better place, and it allows us to leave legacies in a way, because we've made a difference to the world effectively.
Totally agree. I think we live in such a specialised niche world these days that
Yes.
a lot of us know a lot about very little, but not much about a lot of else. And therefore the need to share, guide and educate people, and you would know, as I do, there's no greater satisfying fulfillment than helping others and seeing them grow in an area that they otherwise might have struggled. So I love that. I'm now I'm going to give you a blindfold and cigarette now, Melissa. And I'm going to jump into what I affectionately referred to as the ambush bushfire lightning round. And hit you up with some quick questions that everyone wants to glean your words of wisdom on. First of those, Melissa, if you could have a coffee with anyone, either dead or alive, who would you choose and why?
Oh, I would go with my dad. My dad left us about 13 years ago, and I'd love to have another conversation with him.
Yeah, you don't need to tell me why. I feel exactly the same about my parents. I was blessed with my parents. I lost dad unexpectedly, mum not so. So I was able to have hard conversations with mum, and there's no regrets, but there's a lot unsaid with dad that I would have liked to have talked about, and enjoyed the wisdom that he took with him, really. Back on the investment arena, Melissa, what's both the worst and the best piece of investment advice that you've ever received?
The work probably been to invest in this amazing parcel of shares that went nowhere, and I can't even remember the name of that parcel of shares. Just the best advice was probably the one that I preach these days, is to look at what you want your future to look like, focus on that, and work your way back. And that's what I've done for many years now. And I think it's been sensational advice that's impacted my life.
Oh, I love it. It's something that I guess I scratch my head a lot, and I find it difficult to understand why people don't take the time to get really clear on what their end game looks like. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's simple in theory, and it's not easy to do, but it's so fundamental in terms of creating a magnet and then giving you a compass that's going to guide pretty much every decision you make day to day, in terms of, is it taking me closer to where I want to be, or is it taking me further away? It's because we're too busy, or that's the excuse that I often hear bandied around. I just don't have time. But I think those that are smart enough to actually take the time out and then regularly check in on getting crystal clear on where they want to end up, then it's the old story is it's what you talk about is what you bring about and what you think about is what you attract. So I think there's a lot of people missing out on an opportunity there. Jumping into another subject now, what superpower do you wish that you had and why?
This is a hard one. There's so many superpowers, isn't there? Um, Probably it's one of those things that it's really impossible to achieve, but it would be great if we just had a really harmonious world where everybody was happy and loved each other and there was more peace. We're not going to get it. But I wish I had a superpower to, but also a superpower actually really, and this topic is to, so many people have limited beliefs. This is why I wrote both of my books, to be honest with you. Particularly a big moment because I wanted people to not make the same mistakes that I made during my life that can impact the rest of their lives. And I just find that people who have it within themselves but don't believe they do, that live a limited life. And if I had the opportunity to wave my wonder, superpower, whatever it was, and gave them the confidence and the self-belief, I think the world would be a really, really good place.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Melisa, I'm a big believer that it's our habits and our regular activity that ultimately builds success in however we decide to define it. Can you share with us a personal happy habit or a rewarding ritual or a daily discipline that you've employed that's contributed most to your success?
Yeah. I have a gratitude journal that I write in every day because no matter what a bad day that I'm having, there's always something to be grateful for. Even if the sun's shining or the fact that you've got a nice warm bed to get into at night, there's always something there and there's always someone left off the news. So I always, gratitude is the cornerstone of what we need to focus on, I think.
I love that. I think again, it's the simple things that people think, what difference is that going to make, and they don't do it. But those that do those things, and gratitude's a classic because it's focusing on positive thinking. It's creating positive energy. It's stopping the stinking thinking that a lot of people, particularly those who bury themselves in the mainstream media and are just getting drowned in negative messages. By having that daily discipline of being thankful for all the positive things that are happening in your life, just that little regular activity really positions you to enjoy life day to day, but be more likely to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. So I love that.
Thank you.
I guess sort of bringing it to a close then, what's the one question that you wished I'd asked you, but I didn't? And if I did, how would you have asked it, Melisa?
Oh, you're asking some very, very tricky questions here. Probably, if I could live anywhere, where would I live?
Yeah.
And I would answer that by saying I would live in this really lovely beach house at the beach.
Love it. Love it. Any particular location or there's too many opportunities?
Somewhere warm. I live in Melbourne, so somewhere warm.
Love that. Look, I really want to thank you for taking the time to share your journey with us so far, Melisa. And before we close off, if anyone watching or listening has been inspired by Melisa and you'd like to take the first step to get invested in your own future journey and overcome the obstacles that might be holding you back, feel free to book in with me for a personal solution session by clicking the link in the show notes or going to knowhowproperty.com.au and hitting the purple book appointment button, where you'll have my complete, dedicated and undivided attention to tap into my decades of experience to help you solve any and all of your challenges to ensure that you're on track to achieve your version of freedom and sustainable success. And if you'd like to explore how property can help you to enjoy all of your big moments by freeing up your time and creating an income for life, whether you're new to the game or an experienced investor, feel free to explore your why, what and how of successful property by tapping into our newly released Freedom Formula program that you can enjoy anytime, anywhere at your leisure by just clicking the link in the show notes now or going to bushymartin.com.au/Freedom Formula course. We now look forward to continuing our great conversation with Melisa in next week's episode, where we're going to deep dive on her new book, Big Moments, that we've touched on a couple of times today, so that you can then successfully navigate all of your life's milestones. So remember to always get invested in both your knowledge and your network. And we look forward to getting invested with you again then, Melisa. So thanks for your time today.
My pleasure. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to Get Invested on the Property Hub podcast channel, your home for property investment insights and inspiration. Make sure you subscribe to Property Hub for free. Get your weekly dose of Get Invested inspiration along with every episode of Realty Talk, Australia's top online property show for red-hot property investing news and insights direct from industry leaders and influencers. And finally, I'll see you next time.